Good morning, everybody. I'm working on a very quick junk journal project this morning. It is going to be a butterfly journal. It's going to be a very easy, quick journal. I've had some requests to show how I make a cover, so I'm going to do two versions, and I wanted to just be really quick and show you how easy it is to make a cover and a journal. I have two file folders here. These are just regular folders that you would put in a file cabinet. One of the most fun parts about making a journal is picking the paper. I want this to feel like a scientific butterfly journal. I want it to be really pretty. I have only pulled out 5 papers for this journal. 2 reasons. One is just simplicity, because this is a quick project, and the other is because I have a really specific purpose in mind for these pages, and I know that the more pages I add, the more work I'm adding to what I want to do, and just a few pages is still going to give me the overall beautiful effect that I want. These pages were Medicare pages. I found these at the scrap exchange, and I bought a stack of these papers. I cut them down to 8.5 by 11. So 8.5 by 11 is a really standard size, and when you fold it in half, you're going to have 8.5 inches this way and 5.5 inches this way. I always cut my folders to be about 8 3/4 this way to give 1/4 of an inch, just a small amount overhang for the cover. And this way, instead of 5.5, I do 5 3/4. Now, if you're making a journal that has, sometimes I do one signature journals with as many as 35 pages in them. That can be really thick. So in that case, you can still keep the same height, but you might want to go, say, 6 inches instead of 5 3/4. I've cut 2 of these because we're going to do 2 different kinds of covers. One requires the sewing machine, and one is just going to be glue. These journals are going to end up looking a little bit grungy. I want them to be like field notebooks, so I have used this just heavy cotton. It almost feels like canvas for the covers. And what I did was lay this folder down on a piece of fabric on my cutting board, and I just used a cutting wheel to go right around the edge of the file folder. I've got a natural crease in here, so it makes it really, really easy to know where the center of the journal is and where to fold it. On this one, I'm going to sew this piece of fabric into place. So I'm going to put these large paper clips on the edge, and I will pull these off as the needle comes around. On this one, we're going to just glue it into place. I don't want to waste anything. This was a brand new bottle. I've not even taken the little seal off yet. I love tacky glue, so let's just go all around the edge here. Depending on the fabric or the material, you don't really have to do anything to this glue, but I don't want the lines to show through. I don't want ridges to show up under the fabric. So I'm just going to spread this out so it's not quite so obvious that there's glue under that fabric. And as you add layers to your cover and embellish it, it's going to be pretty much hidden anyway. So let's just put this down flat and glue that into place. And there you have your fold. It's perfect. Don't have to worry about little edges. That's not a big deal. I'm going to go sew the other one, and I will be right back. I wanted to show you where I do the stitch. On this first step, which is the outside of the cover, I sew along the edge of the paper with a zigzag stitch. Fortunately for me, I've been working on darker things, so I already had black thread in the machine, and it allows you to see the stitching a little better. I'm going to go cut the fabric for the inside. I'm going to lay it face down on the fabric that I want and cut it the exact same size as this. You can see that the fabric here is a little less than straight, so I'll probably straighten that edge up with my cutter. That didn't take long at all. For the inside, I decided to use a different fabric just to show you. You can see that I cut this piece exactly the same size, as the fabric that's on the outside. This is our glued cover. So again, I'm going to take my tacky glue, and this time I'm going to include the fabric because we want something to prevent fraying, and we want the glue to go all the way to the edge. I'm just going to go all the way around here with it, and then again I'm going to put some here, and because we're putting fabric down, I'm going to smooth this glue out again. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one first so that this glue can be drying. I love tacky glue. It does grab fast, and tacky glue makes a brand, or they make a version called Fast Grab. So we're just going to spread this out. It's okay if there are some wrinkles. We want this to be like a filled notebook, so that's okay. And it looks like I have a little bit of overhang here. So that makes a nice sturdy cover, and you know exactly where your fold is. You could change your mind and put this on the outside. On this one, I've got my paper clips in place again. That was quick. I'm already back. So you can see we have two different sets of stitching, and it hardly shows up on the inside because on this side you're only going to see one layer. The zigzag stitching around the edge helps to prevent fraying, and it just adds another layer of material. Junk journals, to me, one of the reasons they are so fun is that they get really, really busy. Almost not even a place for the eye to rest. Kind of like a Victorian crazy quilt. It's just, they're fabulous, and I think that's one reason they're so popular. I'm going to take this back to the little cutting mat, and I'm going to cut that strip off that's overhanging, and I'm going to add my pockets. Pockets are so easy. Decide how tall you want your pocket and cut a strip of fabric that goes all the way across. Make sure it goes all the way. You know, it's going to be folding, and you don't want it so tight that it ends up pulling on the journal in one way or another. I'm going to do the same for this. I'm just going to cut a strip of fabric that fits here, and I'm going to sew right around the edge. If you're sewing a cover and you're going to decorate the front with the sewing machine, you have to do this cover before you put the pocket in, because once the pocket's laying across here, you're going to end up sewing over it and closing it up. That seems like a no-brainer, but I have done that before. That really did not take long at all. Here is the cover that I did on the sewing machine, and I decided to just use a couple of pieces of paper, some journal cards that I made yesterday, and they turned out so pretty. I showed how I did these in the last video that I did, and so I went ahead and picked out two. I love these delicate ones. I did not show these on the video. I did these after I stopped recording, but these turned out to be some of my favorites, where I used an ink stamp and stamped with the stencil in place, and then I sprayed the ink and it put a design on the wings. So I just took two of these cards and I sewed this one on the front and this one on the back with the stitching, and see, it just adds more and more layers. I went around the edge with a zigzag stitch to really hold it into place, and then I just changed the dial to a straight stitch and went around and around. I think that's a lot of fun. That technique has been around for a long time. On the front, I just sewed this card into place, and then I used a decorative stitch here. I used that same decorative stitch to put the pocket in. Once I had done this on the front, I went back and just laid the pocket into place and sewed right around the edge. I went up a little bit higher than the pocket so that that doesn't come loose. So now let's do the one that is glued, and we're gonna make sure we've got this fabric facing right side up, and it's just an easy process. We're gonna go right around the bottom and up a little bit. You can measure with your fabric how far up you need to go, and we're gonna put some tacky glue or fabric glue, whatever type of glue you like to use. This edge of the fabric was raveled or unraveled. I like that, so I left that just the way it is. And there is our pocket. This one seems a little more plain because it doesn't have the stitching, and we haven't put anything on the front yet, but it's going to be just as beautiful. You can find other ways to add a lot of interest I want to find one of the cards that says journal. We're going to do this one exactly the same way. So let's go ahead and glue this into place. Let's go all the way to the edge with the glue. And again, I do think I'm going to, let's pull that back a little bit. I'm going to spread this glue out. So let's put that on the front. And then, oh, this beautiful, look at that. I'll put that one on the back. So we've got this cover complete and this cover complete. This is how I do my covers. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.